all the efforts we have been putting up coming into fruition at that time. So that was a mixed emotion feeling. I devoted each week within a micro schedule manner. I designated time for both GS aspects. I would take up 2 subjects of GS and 1 unit of optional per week. Focus area I think 555 actually provides with. So I think that provides with a holistic understanding of the subject, which is very much required to tackle anthro questions in the current exam pattern.
Hello everyone, welcome to Vineeth IAS. Today we have with us All India rank 169 Vineeth Lohidakshin. So hi Vineeth, welcome to Vineeth IAS.
Hello sir.
So very happy to have you here, and after seeing you in the list, we were very happy. And what was your feeling?
Sir, the feeling was actually a sense of relief first of all, and afterwards it was a sense of mixed emotions with happiness. Also, all the efforts we have been putting up coming into fruition at that time. So that was a mixed emotion feeling, happy at the end.
So where do you come from, and which attempt was yours? Give a bit brief about this to the viewers.
Sir, so I hail from Perambur of Ernakulam district from Kerala. I'm a medical graduate. I did my MBBS degree from Government Kilpok Medical College in Chennai. Sir, so I graduated in 2022 July, and this was my first attempt. And my optional subject is anthropology, and so that's my background.
So I just wanted the viewers to know that you are a first attempter, because the very first attempt getting 169 rank, kind of wonder thing, because for most of the students they don't figure out what UPSC is in that time. So what were your apprehensions before coming up to the UPSC preparation, and what difficulties did you face in the beginning, and what you tried to correct in the process?
Sir, while starting up, I had the apprehension similar to any other aspirant preparing for UPSC. Whether is it possible, first of all, not in just first attempt, in all these attempts, whether it is possible in that sense, or what are the steps we have to take. We have flooding of resources in the market. What kind of right guidance to take up? What is the right path towards success? So, and each of the stage actually presents it with different challenges. Be it with prelims, it's a sort of mental stress, and especially the changing pattern also adds up to the pressure. With the option, the mains part, it's also a physical stress also. We have to complete the papers, so that adds up to the remaining stress. And so in the final part, again, interview presents it was again mental stress, so apprehensions again. So this was a major problem. So how I addressed this was that I always believed in myself. I tried to follow the guidance that I was getting up. So I think we ought to have belief in ourselves as well as the people around us who is trying to help us, the mentors and all the PYQ patterns set by UPSC. So these were the simple strategies that I was following, and one main thing I followed was keep it very simple. Same boring thing, we have to do it again and again. So that's what we call as the consistency part. So that's what I was trying to keep it, taking one thing at a time. If it is prelims, mains, interview, and results was which I left it to UPSC, the unpredictable part.
Okay, so you're not focusing on results and you're just focusing on what you're doing.
Exactly.
So I think that's the best part, because not everyone will be able to do that, and it's suggested to the students as well. Just focus on the work you're doing, and just check whether you're doing it right or wrong. That's what we need to suggest for you. And coming to the exam part now, how did you deal the time between the prelims and mains?
Sir, first of all, the aspect starting with the immediate time after prelims. So, by the time of results of prelims. So last year the prelim pattern had changed. So I was not sure actually whether I would cross it up or no. So I think that's what I would advise to other people also. That time is very much crucial to use that for our mains preparation, which I couldn't do it due to the apprehension of whether I would qualify it or no. So that was there. So I was like planning for a long term rather than for a short term. But I think that is where we should be changing up. We should plan up for the mains part itself, whether we are qualifying or not qualifying. We should actually prepare ourselves during that part, because it gives an edge over other people, because most of the people would not have started in that part. So afterwards, what I did was that I had content to cover both for GS as well as optional, because this is my first attempt. I had not covered up pretty much. So I devoted each week within a micro schedule manner. I designated time for both GS aspects. I would take up 2 subjects of GS and 1 unit of optional per week, and I would designate time for, first of all, analyzing PYQ pattern and trends that are being repeated each year. So key topics that gives us the key hit areas, be it for GS and for optional. Second aspect is that I would also go through the topper copies so that it gives us an idea how to present up, because those are the copies which UPSC have also rewarded. So I think that gives us an idea how to present answers. And towards the end of the week or during the weeks also, I write up daily answers. I try to write maximum, and at the weekend I take up a holistic test, sectional test initially. Towards the end I shifted to a full length test.
So how many full-length tests did you give for the exam?
Sir, full-length test, as such, full written test, I had taken one entire sequence of tests. After that, I used to refer to the answer keys of the various papers so that it gives us a feel of content depletion which we have, so that content enrichment happens. One aspect is that because I didn't have much of time to devote to full-length test, unlike prelims, mains, we cannot give much of full-length test. This was my approach.
Yeah, it's an energy draining process.
Exactly. So one
You
day
have to save your energy for the final exam.
Definitely. I think one aspect is that if we are about to complete, we are reaching the completion of about 19 questions in our last full length, we should be able to complete in the last test, because that adrenaline rush also comes in the final paper. So I think that would be easy to complete the papers in the last part.
So now coming to the optional. How did you deal your anthropology? Like which areas did you stress more, and the kind of practice that you were doing? Also, just emphasize whether foundation plays a good role in this part or not.
Sir, anthropology actually, from my point of preparation, that is a very beautiful subject that requires actually, but while many misconceptions are there, it is a raw subject that requires to be rote learned actually, but that is not the case with anthropology. It is a very much living subject that requires depth of understanding. I think that is where many of the aspirants lack. So I wanted to focus on this aspect, and bulk of my preparation actually took place post-prelims. Few of the key areas like archaeological anthropology and physical anthropology I had learned mainly after that, which I wouldn't advise. I would advise everyone to have that covered beforehand, but I couldn't do it because of the paucity of time, as I started very late that entire preparation. So what I did was that I entirely designated the entire stretch for each subject based on the weightage. So I knew that much of the very rewarding sub areas is physical anthropology and archaeological anthropology, and these are also some of the tough regions of the paper, so that if we attempt that, there are very high chances that for a 20 marker we would get even 14 to 15 marks also. So while socio-culture is much more subjective to the examiner, so maybe the yield might be lesser compared to these. So I tried to capitalize on these areas initially. I tried to make designated notes for them, a diagram chart for them for physical anthropology, and a map book for archaeological anthropology, and the diagram note for the tools and every other aspect. Also, for socio-cultural part, what I did was maintained a different book for thinkers and their books and definitions, so that easy revision is possible. At the end of the day, I think any anthropological question can be answered in a manner that is similar to GS1, but what it makes anthropological answer is the thinkers, their works, the case studies, everything. So I understood that from the topper copies, and I tried to focus on these areas.
So you have used some of the value addition for your exam. So what role do you think this value addition plays in the exam?
Sir, as I mentioned, actually the value addition actually makes a paper mainly an anthropological aspect, because it's not our view that matters. Unlike GS papers, it is our view that matters, while in terms of anthropology, it's the anthropologist view that matters in terms of every question. So I feel always value, and especially the case studies. If you say something in a generic manner, the implication of that is different, while if you say something in a specific manner with statistics and also with the thinkers, also case studies, the impact that it has on the examiner is totally different. So I think that is the main. So all the spike that provides in the anthropology paper is actually by this value addition, supplemented by the static part.
So just give a review about the classes of 555 or the material or the content. So what do you feel, and to what extent do you feel that they satisfy the exam?
Sir, actually the content, the first contact was for me during the mains preparation part. So the PYQ material that was sold by sir actually helped me very much for the value addition part. So what I noticed particularly that we find it difficult to find examples and case studies for especially many of the micro topics. But in the book itself, it is actually flooding of value addition, especially the sold material. For each of the subtopics, we have multiple thinkers, the anthropology works and examples, and that too from an Indian perspective. So always an Indian perspective example adds different value.
Yeah.
So that helped really very much to me. So what I did was that in the last part, towards the end of end of August, I actually just read the examples part. Each of the PYQ I used to take, and I just note down few of the examples also for the last time micro notes. So this was one aspect, and this actually I feel really enriched my paper. It made my paper fresh, and especially with the analytical questions I was able to tackle it much more easier. And sir, with the classes, I could go through the classes lately, and the quality is exactly what the UPSC answer goes through, because sir actually emphasizes on what demand this particular topic requires, because some topics require important on the static part, while others, maybe if it is tribal part, it requires much of value addition and case studies part. So sir actually notifies that first of all, because this requires static part, or this you have to focus on value addition. So that itself gives an idea about how the question goes through, and also with the kind of explanation. So be it with the content or with the classes, always a focus on the depth of understanding, which is very much absent in the current market. So that is also another focus area I think 555 actually provides with. So I think that provides with a holistic understanding of the subject, which is very much required to tackle anthro questions in the current exam pattern.
So also give an idea about the GS part, how to tackle, because many of the people, though sometimes they do well in their optional, they struggle to get good score in the GS. This year, especially coming to GS papers, GS1 and GS3, I see the scores of the students being low. How did you tackle those areas, GS1 and GS3, if you can give an idea to the viewer?
So with regarding the GS papers, one idea was that I was trying to address the question rather than showcasing our knowledge. Basically, the question what demands us has to be addressed first. So I was very much focusing on the keywords of the question or what the demand of the question is, and also giving up a multi-dimensional view. So I always try to map it out to the issues, challenges. I give a proper introduction which is relevant to the question, then go up with the issues, challenges, solutions, and way ahead. And I try to map it out to maximum of our government schemes or programs or something of the contemporary relevance. And very important aspect is that for each of the issues or any points that we write, I try to substantiate, be it with statistics or examples or case studies, some or best practices, especially for GS questions, GS3 especially, we can bring in many of the best practices. So I focused on that aspect, that content addition, and also value addition in terms of diagrams, especially for GS1, we can map out, we bring in various maps or flowcharts, or for geography aspect, maybe some sort of diagrams. So all these actually makes the role of examiner very much easier. So I think that is one aspect. We can think from the aspect of an examiner correcting the paper. So our intent should be to make it maximum easier for the examiner. So that was one point I focused upon, along with ability to tackle any questions based on framework model. So that also really helps for it. GS3, GS2 aspects, framework model really helps. Even if you are not very much sure about the content, this framework model actually helps a lot. I think these are few points to note up in the GS part. And also one aspect is the key core areas that's mentioned. PYQ analysis actually really helps to understand few key areas that actually gets repeated every 2 or 3 years in different manner of question, but the theme remains the same. So I think that also helps to tackle GS to a great extent.
Coming to GS1, especially history part, art history and art and culture, people struggle to do it. And where did you cover this from?
Sir, one aspect with history and art and culture between prelims and mains. Prelims we have to be much more specific, but with regard to mains, the thing is that we can be a bit more lenient in that aspect. So one aspect I would stress on is focus upon the examples, because we can tackle many of the questions by providing examples. You give a generic historic point and give an example to, if it is like the sophistication of artwork, we can give it in that aspect, and we can quote any of the ancient monument, because that is a sophisticated artwork to quote in itself. So these kind of specifications help to tackle, and also have an understanding about the diagrams. Art and culture especially, we can bring in many of the diagrams like the temple architecture, very simple diagrams, all the innovations brought in. This year it was innovations brought in by Delhi Sultanate. So all these things we can easily actually quantify it into diagrams. So this actually adds up more impact on the examiner. So my source of material was very much similar for art and culture. I had referred finance textbooks similar to main prelims, and I had referred to actually few of the answer keys of famous institutes, so that I think that also helps for in history part and art and culture. Answer keys of institutes can be very much helpful. It gives in the concise manner, so that is also helpful.
Like you said, like this has been similarly seen in previously. Air One Shruti Sharma ma'am, like she has also presented the same. For every line you write, she has quoted the examples relevant.
Yes.
So I think this is working, and for this part, you can focus on that. For history, if someone is feeling that their gray areas history, and how do you used to manage your stress and your personal life? Like, because in this process, many times you feel that you are lost somewhere, and sometimes you don't feel like reading. So how do you used to manage that?
Sir, one point that I had first of all engraved within myself was that I would place myself above the exam. So each and every aspect which I study, only if it's making me happy or if I'm enjoying, I would study. So there are days that I have studied maybe 14 to 15 hours, and there are days I haven't even studied half an hour. So if I don't feel it any much more interesting, I would leave the study table at that time. So that actually really helped. And also I used to go out on kind of daily evening or morning walks, and also talking out with friends. That really helps, especially we always say when two candidates or aspirants preparing for UPSC speaks, it's always UPSC. So it's actually kind of a venting mechanism. So especially how to deal with this, I'm not able to complete this, I don't think this is possible. So this kind, when it comes mutually on this aspect, this actually helps to end out. So always the energy meter would be very high in the beginning of the day, and it would be on a negative scale towards the night. But the key element is that next day morning you regain that energy meter right up to the top of the table and get back to the study table back again. So I think that was one aspect. And also the role of family is also very important here, because always having a supportive back to fall upon is very much flexi aspect in this journey. So that is also commendable, along with the mentor support, because a good mentor is someone who is not just guiding you academically, but all the journey. He makes the journey overall entirely easy. So just like as you had mentioned earlier, it's not having a good protein diet and good sleep. Everything is important in this long journey, because our physical health is as important as our mental health. So I think all this holistic aspect,
it's all related.
Definitely.
So since prelims is approaching, and again you're going to reappear this time, so you can provide some of the tips and strategies to the viewers so that they can deal prelims with a bit of ease.
Yes, sir. I basically consider prelims, and for that sake UPSC exam, to be a test of actually our confidence, the kind of consistency and our attitude. So regarding to prelims, always keep your confidence high. So develop your gut feeling based on solving of questions, solve adequate question based on. So test series should serve only two purposes. One is actually structuring your attempt, number of questions, number of rounds that you would attempt, all these aspects, and getting acclimatized to the conditions, the test conditions. And then that you shouldn't be focused upon the content as such from the test series. And also go thoroughly through PYQs. PYQs provide you the way ahead, like the examiner setting language, the question of the language, and also the focus areas. Again, prelims also the focus areas is definite. For that sake, if Buddhism, Jainism, definitely one. Themes is very, very evident. So that is one aspect. And with increasingly the recent time, it's CSAT, because last year we have seen the cutoff coming down to 75. So the entire play comes down to CSAT. Anyone qualifying CSAT can qualify. GS is the kind of
so
situation
now GS
that
has become qualifying paper.
Exactly. Almost reaching the same level. So I think CSAT requires that kind of attention that it requests. So leave out the ego and prepare for CSAT holistically. That also PYQs help a lot. So I think that also time management in this exam is really essential, if it is for CSAT and also for GS. So all these holistic preparation I feel can help us for prelims.
So what do you say? Because I see many of the students moving from source to source in search of the material and in search of current affairs. They study too much.
Yes.
So what do you suggest on that? Like you want them to refer things or you want them to restrict? Because from my view, I feel that the limited content should serve the purpose. Limited content, the more you limit and more you multiply the number of times you read, it will make the certainty of the answer more easy in the exam. But did that work for you, or you have went for any other material, or you have read multiple things?
Sir, definitely actually the limited content more the productivity. That's the core of the theme is, and especially with almost 1 month remaining, it's time to limit our resources and go through the limited resources that we have multiple times. And especially the key focus areas like mapping aspects, places in news, all these kind of like the volatile aspects should be more and more revised during these times. And also the full length test. These has to be done much more. So rather than becoming a book collector, we have to be the district collector in fact. So this actually aids by multiple revisions and focus areas as such. So I think that is much more advised, which I also did from my part.
Yeah, generally students ask these questions, sir, how many full length tests I have to give or how many sectional I have to give. So what do you suggest them, because already it's only 40 days away?
Sir, actually I think with regarding sectionals, it's time to wrap up the sectionals aspect. Other than that, if you feel too much weak on any particular areas, it's time to wrap up sectionals and time to move on to the full length test. Full length test, I would suggest you to have, it's not just about doing the test but also analyzing the test as such. You have to analyze the key, where it is going wrong and how to correct that. So I would advise minimum 2 to 3 days for one full length. So one day you're doing it and the other 2 days you're actually analyzing the aspect, and the 4th day you're going up with the next full length. So rather than that, just simply doing the test is not much useful. And so just dealing up with the current affairs part which was asked earlier, I think children going behind current affairs and current affairs magazines is not the trend that UPSC wants. Especially if we look up the PYQs, maybe in 2017 was the year that almost 84 questions was directly asked out of current affairs. Since then, each year we see actually a declining trend of direct current affairs, that too from magazines, and it's kind of analytical questions that are being asked from current affairs also. The best example from last year was the case of green hydrogen. How national green hydrogen mission came, so that was a current affairs, but the question was which all industries do green hydrogen help in. So that is like a very careful analytical understanding we can answer it. So I would suggest the best source to be newspapers and the notes you have made out of that, provided need not go beyond the magazines that are coming up in the market. You can revise it up, and if you don't feel much confident with your current affairs, you can attempt few current affairs sectionals. Other than that, it should be sufficing the element. You can go with the PYQ patterns also, especially last 3 years. It is very much limited the exact magazine replicas being asked. So I think that frenzy about current affairs can be limited.
Yeah, Vineeth, whatever the insights that you have given, it will definitely help the students. Students will be happy with your insights and it will be very helpful for them. And thank you for coming. Thank you very much, Vineeth.
Thank you, sir. I would like to wish everyone very best of luck for your upcoming exam. So all the very best. Thank you.
Yeah, everyone, with respect to prelims, try to emphasize on the PYQs. At the same time, also focus on what has been suggested, that limiting your resources and not running behind the resources in the market, and doing your multiple revisions might help you. At the same time, please take care of CSAT as well, and all the best for your 2024 prelims.